Capital Record, where we defend free enterprise and capital markets because we believe in the dignity of the human person. Hello, welcome to David Bahnsen's Capital Record, brought to you by National Review. I am recording from our Bahnsen Group offices in Nashville, Tennessee, which is a very free state and really has a culture of being pro-market, pro-virtue. It's the kind of place you love to be. And again, as I've done in the last couple episodes, I have one of these topics that gets into the nexus of free and virtuous. And I was inspired for today's episode by a tweet that came across from Russ Vought, who is the new Director of Office of Management and Budget. He's been confirmed at OMB. And I want to read you his tweet word for word. He is right now, in the context of him working with OMB, taking on the interim leadership of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which I have done a whole episode here in Capital Record advocating for its dismantling, its unconstitutionality, its lack of accountability, and its inefficiency in simply being an addition to the alphabet soup of our financial regulatory apparatus, but not getting anything substantive done. So you would think that I'm generally on Russ's side because I think what he wants to accomplish at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in dismantling it is a good and healthy thing. And I believe that they have done and not done a lot of things that make the case for their inefficiency as an institution, as an agency that is not providing for greater trust in financial markets, which is something I care about a great deal. So I'd like to read this tweet to you and then make some comments. Russ said, over the last 4 years, many working class Americans with limited means faced unexpected medical bills, auto repairs, and higher grocery bills. Fair enough. One company set up an innovative solution by creating a platform to allow borrowers and lenders to connect for loans at no interest, with borrowers able to tip the lender and also donate to keep the platform going. Shockingly, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau tried to destroy this company. Solo, which incurred millions in legal fees and had to lay off 30% of its workforce, it was wrong, and we at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau dismissed the case. More to come, but the weaponization of consumer protection must end. So everything rhetorically there sounds up David Bahnsen's alley. I do believe in borrowers and lenders coming to terms on their own. I do like innovation. I do generally like a lot of peer-to-peer products and services. But when you dig a little deeper here, you find out that 99.5% of the loans, and this is straight from their own website, were essentially being done without a fee to the lender, and not there were a gazillion loans not being funded. And really, at the end of the day, the cost of this funding was very, very high, with a lot of bait and switch tactics going on. Now, listen, this is not about these so-called payday loans where they use an outrageous percentage because there might be a fair amount of interest paid when someone's borrowing money for 2, 4, 5 days. And when you annualize it, it sounds like a very high rate. But I know a great deal of the payday loan providers that were doing something very innovative and very helpful to people that were liquidity pinched and needed short-term access to capital, early advance on paychecks. There were a fair amount that went bad, and so therefore they needed higher interest to offset losses. And I think the war on a lot of that product line, I'm sure there were tons of bad actors there. I recognize that, but there were some very innovative and I think productive contributors in that product line, which again is probably not something that a lot of the people listening to Capital Record would have needed to access. But as a solution for lower income liquidity, short borrowers, I don't ever understand what the attack on that was. In this particular case, though, I'm disappointed in Russ Voigt's tweet because it doesn't take a lot of research to see that the problem with this particular company was not that they were doing something innovative and then regulation got in the way. That there was just a significant amount of false advertising, of bait and switch, that it was essentially an illegal tip and donation scheme, a lot of which they pled guilty to. And there are available online state attorney general actions that were taken against the company, with the company pledging to change some of their practices and whatnot. So the reason I bring it up is I want this hyper deregulatory climate, and I want there to be good actors, but I don't want deregulation only if they're all good actors. I understand there's bad actors, and I operate from the constrained vision of recognizing that we do not live in a sinless world. I want fraud to be called out as fraud, but I think that when you're going after a deregulatory bias, that it behooves you to not call bad actors good actors. Because I think that what that does is generate a higher public appetite for regulation, not deregulation. The credibility of those of us that strive for more freedom in society and market impact to good and bad decisions made, the credibility calls for us to be truth tellers. And I think that this solo operation, there's enough prima facie evidence of there was bad actions going on, that you just had, where there's smoke there's fire. No, not necessarily, but in this case I don't think it's just smoke. I think that there's evidence of real fires. And so just from research with different state attorney general settlements, and not to mention reporting on the matter, Bloomberg, but also conservative publications, Washington Examiner, this isn't the case that I want to use as a case in point for deregulation and dismantling consumer financial protection. I don't think that we needed consumer financial protection to do what state attorney generals are already doing. So that argument is still there, that the CFPB is not the right entity to be bringing actions against even bad actors like this so-called solo. Is there a viable business model in peer-to-peer lending that advertises honestly, that doesn't hide the opt-out of a donation button, that plays that draws within the lines? I would imagine there is. Now, maybe it's a bad business, but it's an innovation worth trying. It requires VC funding. This itself was VC funded. There's plenty to be said about it that I'm very willing for markets to sort out. But when the champion of deregulation and dismantling CFPB, a very intelligent guy like Russ Vought, is going to comment on it, I think it's problematic to lump in as one of the good actors a company that is a bad actor. There are so many good actors impacted by excessive deregulation that's where those of us who want the free and virtuous society have no reason not to be truth tellers and get this right and make the case with the right examples. Don't make the right argument with wrong examples. That's what I think is going on here. So I'm arguing for more precision. I'm arguing for both piety and technique, okay? Thank you for listening to David Bahnsen's Capital Record, where we're going to continue making the case for a free and virtuous society in the day-to-day things happening in our marketplace, across our market economy, and in the realm of public policy every week. And we're going to try to do so with consistency and integrity. Thanks for listening. Once again, David Bahnsen's Capital Record, brought to you by National Review.